is going to take. Good afternoon and welcome to the program. As you may notice, Linda is not leading this program today, but she is with us. She's taking a well-deserved side break, so I'm going to do the first half of the lesson today. So it's kind of nice for me to get back into the classroom. As the director, I don't get a chance to get into the classroom a lot. So in the past 19 shows, Linda's given you a lot of information on content and vocabulary and lots of other materials. So we were looking at this show and we're actually thinking about, for this show, we were going to do some strategies to employ the knowledge that you've got. How do I take what I know and apply that going forward to new information that I might be presented with? So we have a couple of strategies to show you, and I'm going to move to the whiteboard as we do that. And I'm going to pop this up. And that looks semi-straight. Okay, so one of the first strategies, I know it's a little
there you go.
difficult, that's a little better, is to create a grid for yourself, and in each of the three categories, it's know what I learned. So K, W, L. So K, what do you already know about the new topic that you're being presented with? When you're thinking of that, you can list all of the things that you already know about a particular topic. For example, we talked about the 3 different branches of government in one of the shows. So if you're studying the branches of government again, or another issue with government, what do you already know about the government? You would already know that there are 3 branches of the government, so you could list those. You could list the number of senators, the number of representatives, so things that you already know. And then what you want to know. That's a question. And a lot of times students look at the teacher and they wonder, well, how are you asking me what I want to know? I don't know what I want to know yet. But if you think about it, there's probably something that you want to learn about a particular topic, or a question that you want to answer for yourself. So you would put that into the W category. What do I want to know? And then the L is, what did I learn? At the end of the lesson, thinking about what you've learned in that lesson. So just making some brief notes. These are not notes that are going to take you too far. It's kind of talking points to help you move through there. And then building the knowledge of the text structure. We're going to talk a little bit about the structure of texts today. I know Linda's done a little bit of work with that, but there are some strategies that you can use to address the structure of the text to help you figure out what kind of a question's being asked, if it's on a test, if it's on a quiz, if it's within the reading, if it's something you're creating for yourself, a question, what that question would fall into. I'm going to put that category there. And I'm going to pop this one up. Hopefully pop it up straight. Pull it down just a little. Okay, there you go. So the first one we're going to talk about is description. So the purpose of something for description is just to describe something. It could be the weather outside. It could be flower arrangement on your table. It could be how you're feeling that day that you want to describe. And in doing that, there are a couple of signal words to let you know that what you're being asked to do is to describe. Examples of those are to begin with. For example, most important, in front, beside, near, a sensory word, which is smell, sound, taste, feel. Those are some of the sensory words that you might see. Sounds, again, and like. So things that you're looking at to describe are words that would trigger you that you're being asked to describe something in the essay or on a test question. And one of the things you'll notice as we go through some of these other strategies, a lot of the signal words are repeated. So it can be a little tricky. You really have to pay attention to the text around the signal words to help you understand what's going on. So the next one is a sequence or a timeline. And a sequence, as indicated on the far side of the screen, the 1, 2, 3, 4, would be a sequence of steps that you're taking to complete a task. It might be a recipe. It might be changing the oil in your car, things that you have to do in a sequence in order for that to come out the way you want it to. The other one is a timeline, and you see the 2020, 2021. Timelines are used to indicate particular important events over a period of time. You might see those on a history text or a history question, a biography. I know Linda has talked a lot about The Incredible Life of Henrietta Lacks, a book that some of you may have, some of you may have looked at. That has a timeline across the top of each chapter indicating what the date range for that particular chapter would be. So the sequence or timeline is to convey events or steps that must be presented in order. So things that happen in a sequence, they happen one right after the other. And some of the words that you would be looking for are first, second, third, as indicated on the sheet. Long after that, next, at the same time, finally, then, following. So some words that indicate you're looking at something that's going to happen in a sequential format or over a time frame. Next one. This one. Okay, the next one I want to talk about is compare and contrast. And this is something you do a lot. This is actually, I know Linda's talked a lot about the HiSET test and the requirements for that and the writing test. This is what the essay portion of the HiSET writing test is. It's a compare and contrast question. So you'll see a little bit more about that. We're going to talk more in a future program about the specifics of the test and what the content looks like on that. So there are two diagrams that show you what a compare and contrast could look like. One is a Venn diagram, that's the two overlapping circles, and in the middle of that you would put the similarities between two objects, and then in the right square or the left square you would put the differences between the two things. So if we were comparing apples and oranges, on in the Venn diagram on the right, the circle on the right, we might put that they grow in very moist climates. And then we may be comparing those to apples, oranges and apples. So oranges grow in a dry climate, so that would be a difference. Then in the middle we could put that they are both fruit, so that would be a similarity. One way that we could do that. The other one is just a simple T-square. You just draw a T down the middle of a paper, similarities, differences, and you list the similarities and differences on either side of the line. That can be helpful in just creating your thought process for your essay, or even in reading, figuring out the differences and the similarities between two things. And that's basically to present the similarities and the differences. So words that signal you like, unlike, but, in contrast, on the other hand, however, both, also, to, and as well as, to indicate that you're comparing two things together. Okay. And this one. Oh, there's the one I was looking for. So this one is cause and effect. It's fairly straightforward. You have two boxes. And that's to explain evidence of cause and effects. So what you're doing is you're looking at an event that the result of that event was caused by a preceding event. So something caused what happened. It might be you're looking at what Linda talked a lot about, the insurrection at the Capitol and what caused that. There's a lot of back and forth on what caused that event. But you might be looking at, you might have a pipe that burst in your house because it's real cold. So you would say the sub-zero temperatures, the effect was the pipe in my basement burst. So you're looking again at those signal words, so, therefore, consequently, this led to, as a result, because, if then. So if this, then that happened. When you're talking academics, if I don't study for the test, then I'll probably fail. If I don't show up for class, I'll miss the assignment. So lots of different things that trigger that. And these are things that we all pretty much know. They're common knowledge, but it's thinking about how we understand that and how we apply that to our thought process. One more. Okay. Can't get the fingers to cooperate today. Okay. So this one is problem and solution. This is a little bit more complex. It's kind of a higher order process when you're working with things. The other ones were pretty one-step, two-step. This is actually a three-step process that you're looking at. And the purpose of a problem and solution strategy is to describe a problem and possibly the cause and effect of it, the desired solution, and the steps to be taken to solve the problem. So this would be something that you would use when you're trying to solve any number of problems. It could be a personal problem. It could be a financial problem. Any number of things that you might run into, a problem in a textbook, a problem with studying for something, ways that you could draw this out in thinking through that process. And some of the words, the signal words, because, one part of, as a result, again, you saw that in the previous strategy. Consequently, this led to, if then, the remedy. One step of the solution is, so you're looking at identifying the problem, that's the P. The steps that you need to take would be the next block that you would use. And then the desired solution that you would like to see come of the steps that you've taken. And that can be applied to, as I said, reading strategies. When you're reading a text, you find this text is producing a problem. Here are the steps that they need to take, and here's the desired solution. And you work through those steps. The important thing, I think, to remember with any of these strategies is all of them won't work for everybody. Some of them won't work for anybody, but the goal is to find a strategy or a series of strategies that will work for you. And this is only one set of strategies that's available. There are other models that can be used to help figure out what the challenge is for you. So I don't want you to think that this is the only way to accomplish that problem. And I'll grab that later. And the last strategy we have to talk about in kind of a bigger detail is the argument and evidence. Let me pull argument and evidence down a little. There we go. Sorry about that. The argument and evidence strategy. This is used when you have to basically write a persuasive paper or a persuasive speech. These are things that you can also use for public speaking, a lot of these strategies. And the purpose of this is to convince the reader to do or believe something by making a strong claim and providing evidence for it. So when you're using this strategy or you're talking about arguments and evidence, one of the things that you want to be sure you're doing is you've made your statement and you want to convince your reader that what you're proposing is actually the best solution or the best way to go. And you need to do that by providing evidence to support your claim. I know as a teacher, oftentimes students will say, they'll make a statement and it's because, well, this is what I was told. My response usually is, by who? And it may be my Aunt Hannah. Okay, who's Aunt Hannah and what does she know? She may be somebody who knows a lot about that that topic and may be an expert in that field. Or it's something they read on the internet. And it's okay to use those things, but you've got to have the evidence to back it up. This is where that came from. I know with the high-set essay, we talk a lot about that. And even in papers when you're going on to school, you've got to provide evidence to back up what you say. So you're doing that in a positive way. So you're looking for the evidence that's going to support your side of the story. And you're able to cite and provide that evidence to back up your claim. And the signal words for an argument or an evidence-based essay or a presentation would be therefore, accordingly, as you can see, in addition to, another reason, finally, and in conclusion, are the trigger words when you're working with a text that are going to let you know that it's an argument and evidence-based process. Now that could be in the text, that could be in your response to the text in the question presented on an exam, or an oral presentation that you're making to the class or to your instructor. So those are some of the strategies that are available. And this just kind of gave you a general view. Now I'm going to go over just a couple of the ways that those are drawn out so that you can see how you might create your form. So this one is a description, and it's basically taking the main idea that the author is giving you and putting that into the top box. And then in each of the lower boxes, you're providing a detail. So you're drafting your descriptive essay, or you're taking the description from the text and you're saying this is the main idea. So as we talked about oranges as an example, you would put oranges as the main idea, and then you would be listing the details about oranges underneath that in the detail boxes. So as many details as you could come up with. They grow in warm climates, they grow on trees, they're a source of vitamin C. So that's one way of doing that. Main ideas are looking at a political event going on in your community, or in a political, maybe a public safety issue that you're concerned about. You would take the main idea and the details to back up what you're saying. So you're describing that to someone else, and you're giving them the details so that they can literally envision what it is that you're talking about, whether it's in written form or in your oral presentation. My mouth is not cooperating today. Okay, the next one that we're going to talk about is a sequence. And this is the one we talked about, sequence or timeline. So in a sequence, you're looking at events happening in an order. So they're ordinal, the way that they would happen. So you would look at what's the first thing you want to do, what's the second thing you want to do, the third thing you want to do, and the fourth thing you want to do. This is a good model when you're thinking about setting a goal for yourself. To make the goal, whatever it may be, and then what's the first step you need to take in order to accomplish that? Once you've accomplished that first step, what's the next step? And as I said, you think of a sequence as baking a cake. There are a sequence of things. If you do it wrong, sometimes the cake doesn't come out right. So it's an order that would have to be followed pretty much rigidly. There's no deviation from the actual structure in a sequence of events. And then we talked a little bit about the Venn diagram. going back to my days of philosophy. And Venn diagrams are designed so that you have A side, B side in the middle. And as I said, you might put the differences between apples and bananas on here. One of the things I know one of my philosophy professors used to always use animals. So we would have animals here, and then we would say dogs and cats. So what are the differences between dogs and cats? Dogs and cats are animals, but not all animals are dogs and cats. So we would be putting the similarities. They're both domesticated pets. They both provide unconditional love, whatever it might be. But the differences are cats are very independent, dogs a little bit more dependent on people. So you would be using this model to compare something like that, or to compare, again, compare and contrast the things that you might be considering in a Venn diagram. And as you've probably noticed, a lot of these are visual, so they work very well for people that are visual learners. They need to see something in addition to hearing it. And that's a strategy that sometimes it's both. Like myself, I need to see it, I need to hear it, and I literally need to have it in my hand so I can play with it, so that I can feel it, I can look at it, I can write it out. So there are, oftentimes it's a number of different strategies that work for students when they're moving forward. And the last real strategy that's a visual strategy is the cause and effect. And we talked a little bit about this one. So this is the cause, what caused something, and then these are the effects of the issue. So if you were looking at the current COVID-19 pandemic as the cause, we're looking at that. The effects were, now we're all wearing masks when we go out of our house. Now we're washing our hands probably more times a day than we may have ever washed our hands before. We're using hand sanitizers. We're sanitizing surfaces after we use them. We're quarantining ourselves, so we're not going out as much as we used to. Restaurants have closed. Restaurants are limited hours. Stores have changed their hours. So lots of causes and effect, the cause and then lots of effects from that. So it's working through those as well, just to kind of get an idea of how I can attack the text that I've looked at. So what are they looking for in the text so that I'm better prepared to respond in the way that I need to that particular subject area. I don't know if you want to jump in, Linda?
Sure.
If I missed anything?
No.
I'm going to pull one other
I'll just, let
strategy
me
up.
just say that's a great presentation, Bob, because with these strategies for reading and writing, they go either way. You know, when you're looking for your reading assignment, what's going on in there, and then also when you're writing something. I think these types of graphic organizers are really, really helpful, especially because learners are different. Everybody's different. I need to write down things so that I can memorize things. So when I have a graphic organizer like that, it really does organize it. That's why they're called graphic organizers. But the idea being, I can see it, not only after I've read something, I can write it down, I can take my notes that way instead of on a normal notebook paper. And you don't actually need these, you don't need to go out and buy them, you can draw it yourself. Like with the Venn diagram even, you could draw the two circles and then you put what's, like you expressed, what's the similarity between things and what's different about them. It really, really does help you understand all those different purposes for the writing that we have to read. And it just makes it clearer in our minds. So make yourself a graphic organizer. If you're a visual learner, it really will help. I think that's very important.
Yeah, we use a lot of graphic organizers. I know with our students, we do a
Yeah.
lot of graphic organizing work with students, and even amongst ourselves. A lot of times graphing things out as we're trying to figure something out. We use those strategies a lot. And one other strategy that's more applied to writing, but can also be applied across the board, is the 5 W's and H questioning strategy. When you're thinking about something, especially when you're talking about writing or public speaking. One of the things that our students are realizing a lot now is that a skill that employers are looking for as you go into the workforce is the ability to speak publicly. Whether it's, before it used to be to a group of people in the same room you were in an auditorium, or now it's gone to being able to zoom in and present your point of view from the computer end of the world, so that you're not with the other people, but you're interacting with them just as if you were in the same room. So writers a lot of times will use the 5 W's and H. Who, what, when, where, why, and how, as they're starting to write. So the who is my audience? Who am I writing this to? I'm not writing it to me. I'm not writing for my own purpose. I'm writing for a particular purpose. So who is my audience? I know when Linda and I think of our audiences when we're writing our lesson plans, or I'm writing a remarks to a professional group that I'm speaking to, I'm thinking, who's the audience I'm talking to? What do I want to convey to them? What do I want to get across? When do I want to get this across? When do I want something to happen from this? Where is it going to happen? Is it going to happen somewhere? Or is it just going to be something I'm going to put out there, but I want the where to be in there so that they know where things are going. If it's a political, I don't want to say political, but if it's a public safety issue or an issue within your community that you're writing about, where is this issue taking place? Why am I writing this? Why is it important to me? Why should it be important to my audience? And then how are we going to make the change? What are the things that we can do to make things happen? So asking that question of how this is going to get done are some of the things that will help you as you're thinking about continuing your education, if that's what you're doing, or you're thinking about getting back into writing that first paper. Linda and I were talking a little bit about some of the things that you need to know if you're going to be a writer necessarily. Some people are interested in going into journalism or into more professional writing, and you need to be able to think of all of these strategies to kind of help move you forward in your career choice to do that. I know a gentleman that I knew as a student is now, he's published 2 books. So he's written 2 novels that have been produced, and he's now doing some web page work and just started to do a blog. So getting into different ways of communicating with his potential client base or people interested. So it's asking yourself as you're thinking about that, I want to do this, so who's the intended audience for my blog that I'm coming up with? A lot of people like to do that now because we're separated, so it's a way to engage with other people. So who would my audience be? What do I want them to know? What's my purpose for doing this? When am I going to do this? Where things are going to go. So some of the strategies that you can ask, and even when you're doing this with a particular text that you're reading, who or what is the text about? When is it happening? If it's a history class, is it about an event? Is it about a historical figure? What aspect of that time period is it about? What was the time period? Where is it happening? Here in New England, Europe, the ancient world? Why was it an important event? And then how did that change things? What was the outcome of that? So that you're able to answer those questions. So that was an encapsulated, very quick rundown of about seven strategies to kind of introduce you into what are some of the strategies that can help you as you're learning. And I think it's important to think about how you can apply those strategies, kick them around a little and see what ones might work for you. That's one of the things that I always tell students is we have all of these strategies, but you may try one and it may not work. So you move on to the next one. There's no magic pill. There's no quick cure when you're trying to figure out how to accommodate your learning style, your learning strategy, the strategy that you use to accommodate your style. There are several different styles of learning. There's auditory, people who hear. There's visual, the people who need to see it. There's kinesthetic, which is the people who need to feel it. So artists, mechanics need to get out there and be able to feel things. I need to play with it, feel it with my fingers. Auditory, singers, musicians, public speakers. A lot of times they're auditory learners. They need to hear things. The visual learners, they need to see it. And even with the learning styles, as we talked about the strategies, many of us employ more than one learning style in order to be successful. So it's not just one way of learning. As I mentioned, I need to see it, I need to hear it, I need to be able to write it down in my own words. And that's a strategy that I didn't mention when we talk about note-taking, is realizing that note-taking doesn't mean that you're taking down word for word everything the teacher is saying. It's impossible to do, to write down everything as it comes out of the teacher's mouth. As Linda's making notes now, you can see, I know Linda's not writing down everything I'm saying. Linda's writing down key phrases, words that will trigger her way of remembering things. So the strategy is to really move from what we may have been used to, is if the teacher says this, I have to write it down, as to writing it in your own words. Rewriting what you've read, even into your own words. Once we translate it into our own words, the way we will remember it, we remember it better than trying to remember the cold hard facts. It's, many people can recite the Gettysburg Address, maybe not the whole thing, but bits and pieces of it, because it's been used so many times that we recognize where it came from, and we've probably incorporated it into our own way of kind of compartmentalizing that knowledge so that we have a way of learning in a new way. So lots of different ways. Learning is not an easy thing. I always tell students that my view of education is it's an active activity. It's not a passive activity. I know when I was in school, and probably Linda, we went when teachers were taught, in some ways, that my responsibility is to take what I've learned, what I know, and impart it on the people sitting in front of me. And your job is to take in all of that knowledge and give it back to me. That's not the style that works. We want to have that interactive piece, because if you're just sitting in a class being expected to be given all of the answers that you need and all of the knowledge that you need, it's not going to happen. You really have to engage with the text, and that's where that first strategy that I showed you, the KWL strategy, is really great when you're looking to learn. You have to learn something new. First thing you want to ask yourself is, what do I already know about that particular subject? I'm trying to think of something that I could throw out there. Physics. I know very little about physics. I'm not a science major, but I know some things about physics, so I would go under the what do I know and list what I know about physics. What are the things that I already know? Under the what would I like to learn, that's where I would identify. I might want to learn, okay, what causes rainbows? What causes the arc of a rainbow? So that would be a question that I would write down. This is what I want to know. Then under the L, I could write down what I learned. I learned that piece of knowledge, so I have a reason for that. I know one of the questions that Linda and I get, we talk about strategies, we're talking about strategies, but from students is, why do I need to know this? I'm sure many of you have asked, why do I need to learn this? And usually the answer is, because you need to know this. But it's taking that, what do I already know about this, and using that to figure out, why do I need to learn this piece of information? It may be, and it is true, that there are some information you learn because you have to, and once you use it, you forget it, because you don't have to remember everything that you learn. But it's taking things to being able to apply that. I know personal experience for me was math. I was never great in math. My question always was, why do I need to learn math? I'm not going to do it in a lot of different ways. Come to the realization that I use math every day. And I've learned stuff that I never thought I could once I realized I do need to know some of this stuff. I won't use linear algebra, but I know a little bit about it. So it's thinking of those things as you're going forward, that there are strategies to help you learn what you need to know. There are ways to get you the information you need to know. And that it's different for every person. So you can't really compare yourself to the person sitting next to you or to somebody that you were in school with, that they got it, I didn't. There must be something innately off with me. It's just the way that you take in information. And that's one of the things that I know in our program, we spend a fair amount of time working with students to figure out how do they take in information, especially in this new time frame that we're living in of doing a lot of remote learning. That doesn't work for every student to learn totally remote, to be sitting at home on a computer or a tablet to learn content and make progress in school. Not only in our program, across the board, they're realizing that. So to bring students into a classroom when you can, or to work with them to be able to provide additional strategies to help address the gaps in learning remotely so that students are able to do that. I know with some of our students, we're doing it through email because we can have that exchange. We've done one-on-one Zoom meetings with students to address a strategy to help them get past a block that they're at. So to really move in that direction as we're working with people. So one of the things that we really strive to do is to provide students with the strategies, with the toolbox, I used to call it, my little toolkit, that I can open up and pull out a strategy. If it's a math class, I know I can apply this strategy. If it's a science class, I can apply maybe the problem and solution strategy. If it's a history class, it's the sequence or the timeline that I'm looking at, or it's the problems and solutions again, or the argument and evidence that you're using. So it's really important to be able to understand what the assignment that you're looking at is asking you to do, to understand what the teacher is asking you to do, to understand even what your purpose for wanting to do something is. I think that's one of the harder things is sometimes, why do I want to do this? I know the problem and solution one, or sometimes the cause and effect, or the sequence comes in helpful when trying to make a decision, or the decision model where I need to do something. I need to make a decision. It might be to return to school. The decision tree would work great. These are the things I need to do, and these are the things that scare me. So lots of strategy information. Now we're going to transition into talking a little bit about some of the new things that are happening within the program. Since we started the show, we've made some additions to the services that we provide, and we want to highlight those in a different way. So there's a video coming up very shortly on Northstar Digital Literacy, which is one of the new programs that we have available. It's a program that teaches basic digital literacy skills, and you're going to get some information on that. And then Linda and I are going to talk a little bit more specifically about that, because that's the class that Linda is the primary teacher for. And we're going to talk then about some of the other services available within the program.
The Northstar Digital Literacy Assessments were created to assess computer skills. In 2010, the St. Paul Public Library and the St. Paul Community Literacy Consortium in St. Paul, Minnesota, began a community-based process to define the skills needed to thrive in today's technological world. and the project has been growing rapidly ever since. Anyone can take an assessment for free at digitalliteracyassessment.org. When you finish an assessment, you get a results page showing what skills you've mastered and what skills need improvement. And now you can learn computer skills too, using Northstar Online Learning, or with our teacher-led classroom curricula. If you'd like to show others what you know, you can take an assessment at a testing location under proctor supervision. Then, if you score 85% or higher, you'll earn a certificate. Northstar certificates demonstrate that you have computer skills. You can show your certificates to employers or list them on your resume. There are hundreds of testing locations, and assessments have been taken millions of times.
Okay, so we are one of the testing locations. Bob arranged for this to happen. We both did the training, and now our North Berkshire Adult Education has the ability to not only train our students, but they can take a test where we proctor it. That's where we watch them take it online. And they then get a certification in any of the following or the whole thing. It's a very respected certification, and for anyone who's out there who's interested in this, it looks really good on your application for a job that you've been certified in any of the following of these. And I apologize, I printed it off, left it on the printer, so I've written down all of the different separate things that you can do with this Northstar digital learning. I have 5 students now that are starting through the procedure. So there's 3 basic sections. The first section is essential computer skills, and it's basic computer skills. If you have a new tablet, if you have a new a computer that you've had at home, if you get a job and you've got a computer in front of you and someone says, look up this part, that's what this basic computer skills does. It says to you, if you're using an Apple or a PC, where do you turn it on? I mean, it's that basic. And it's very interactive. It's online. My job is to get you onto your computer or tablet or whatever you're using, and we actually in our program now are going to be able to get some Chromebooks for students that have nothing to use. So that's another piece that maybe Bob will talk about. The second one, if you complete this and you get an 85 or above, you get a badge. The next one is about going on the internet to order things. And again, think of the things you'd have to do in a college situation or in a career situation. Every job you have, you're going to have to use a computer at. Using email is another thing, the do's and don'ts and how-tos and which one's better, Yahoo or Google or all of that. And then the 2 systems for Windows, for PCs, and Mac OS for the Apple computers. Then the second section on Northstar is the essential software skills. Oops. And these are the key things, I think. Microsoft Word is something where you're typing papers and you really need to know Word. Excel is the one that is more with databases and things like that. A lot of presentations now are PowerPoints and the Google Docs system. The third one is using technology in daily life. So this would be, you don't have to do everything, but you can pick and choose what you do want. This one's doing using the social media online. The next one is information literacy. This one is, I would suggest any teachers that are not comfortable with distance learning, You might even just want to contact us, and you don't have to enroll with us, but we could give you access to this during the COVID times. You might find it helpful. Career search skills, most jobs today on Indeed or even Berkshire's, it's online. And this will help you find a job online, and we can help you with your application. And then your digital footprint. What could you possibly, how do you have a good digital footprint online? So that's kind of a really fast run through of what Northstar Digital Curriculum Online can do for you. And if you're interested in this new feature of our program, we are the only testing site close by. You saw all those little dots on the map. But we do have not only the ability to train you, but we can give you the certification because we can proctor the test after you've had the training. So I'm going to go back over, and then Bob and I are going to talk a little more about our program. Here's, do you want these?
Oh, yeah, my notes. Thank you, Linda. I forgot I put them over there. Thanks. So, as we mentioned, there are a lot of things that are happening within the program. The digital literacy piece that Linda just talked about is something that we're very happy to have, something we're glad to be able to offer to the community. And that program, as Linda mentioned, it is available remotely, so you don't have to be able to come to our site in order to access the digital literacy program. You can do that totally remote from your home and participate in the entire class and still take the exam for the credential from Northstar Digital Literacy. Northstar Digital Literacy is a program out of Minnesota. It's an adult ed program, created software. So it's been around for a number of years. It is recognized pretty much nationwide that it's a reputable curriculum that you've completed. It's not something that you grab off of the internet and be able to then say, I know how to do this. You will know the basics of using Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Google Docs, those things that we're all now using in our everyday lives. So that's a nice program that's available. We'd be happy to talk more specifically, as Linda mentioned, for the K through 12 educators that are out there. There are some very good resources to support K through 12 learners, and we'd be happy to share those with you. You can contact our office, and we'd be happy to set you up with that resource or to work with you on accessing the resources that are available. One of the other programs that we're working with, our classes have now gone hybrid, so we're back to face-to-face instruction on a limited basis at Drury, where our program is located. But we're also offering all of our classes remotely. So for those individuals for whom coming to the site would be a hardship, or because of COVID, you don't feel comfortable being in a physical classroom, you can access the program remotely using a Chromebook or laptop, iPad. Some of the features work well on smartphones, but not all of them, so it may be limited as to what you would be able to participate in on remotely, but you would be able to zoom into the class and actually see the lecture. The textbooks that you would be using in most of our online programs, we do have hard copies, so it would be possible for you to come in and get the textbooks, so you would be able to participate. And the levels of courses that we have available, we have an ABE level, which is basic skills, reading, writing, math, the very basic level. Then our PASE and ASE level classes are the classes that are designed to prepare you for the Massachusetts Alternative High School Credential. The exam that you take, you often hear Linda and I refer to HiSET. That's the exam that all of our students have taken. There are 2 exams, and we're going to talk more about the exams in particular at a later date. But those 2 classes will prepare you to sit for either one of the exams that are available, and should give you the skills to be able to achieve those. Now, those classes aren't only for individuals who are pursuing their high school credential. We also have students that come to improve their skills. So they may have been out of school for a while and they want to improve their math or their writing skills. You can enroll for the language arts reading and writing class. You can enroll for the math class. You can take the science and social studies just to brush up on your skills and refresh your knowledge in those areas. Then we also have a Bridge to College program for writing and math. And Linda teaches the Bridge to College writing class, and that's Bridge to College and career writing. So we do a combination of college writing and career writing in that class. So that's designed to help students who are considering moving on to the next level, continuing your education, be it at BCC, a 4-year school, a career training program. And we do work with Mass Hire to access services through that organization to help you find the training and eventually even pay for that training through some resources that they have available. All of our services are free, so there's no cost for any of the services that we provide. We do tell people that the only cost associated with the adult education process is for your exam, for the credentialing exam. So if you're looking to take the HiSET or the GED test, there is a fee that's paid to the testing service, not to us, for that service. So for the educational components, it's all free. The Northstar Digital Literacy program is free. The Aztec software, which is one of the other sites that we work with, there's no charge to access any of those services. As Linda mentioned, we did come into some funds that are going to allow us to be able to work with some of our students to access a Chromebook that would be theirs to keep. And there are some criteria for that program. One, you would have to be registered as a student with the Northern Berkshire Adult Education Program. So you would have to register for some program within the services that we provide. And then there's a few criteria that need to be met to qualify for that. But that's a program that we're hoping will be up and running in mid-March, and we'll be able to work with students to do that. We also have the capability to help you pay for the HiSET test fees, so the fees for your tests. The fee for the HiSET test is $100 for the 5 subject test. So that's a lot for people to be able to come up with, especially with the COVID pandemic situation, and people have lost jobs or hours have been cut. So we came into some funding to be able to assist with that. So we're really happy to be able to provide that assistance again as well. To my next page, notes. And we have about 5 minutes left. Yeah. Okay. So one of the questions that we get all the time from people that are interested in the program is, how long is it going to take me to get my high school credential? I always tell people, if I could answer that question, I would not be here right now. It's really dependent upon the individual who comes into the program. We have students who come into our program who test right away. They're very solid in their skills, and they move on to their next step. We have students that come into our program, and it takes 3 months, 6 months, a year maybe to prepare for the tests. It's really dependent upon how much work you want to put in. As I mentioned earlier in the show when I was talking about the strategies, it's an interactive process. Learning is an active process. So you're in class with us now because of the pandemic for 90 minutes. Our classes are usually 2.5 hours, 2 to 3 days a week. So there's an hour and a half that you're really not in class, but you could be. With the platforms that we're using and the resources that we provide, you're able to work outside of class, and that's really almost a requirement to make progress to do that. So it's something that we work individually with students to do. And there's no requirement that you participate in a preparation program in order to take the HiSET or the GED test. You can go online, register for the test, pay the fee, take the test, and if you pass, great. If you don't, then you can retake the sections that you didn't pass. But our experience has been individuals that at least connect with the program before they go to take the test. We can do some evaluations with you. We have practice tests that we've made available to individuals who think they might be strong in subjects. We provide those to you. You take those. We set up another follow-up call or video conference to review those. And if you're ready to test, by all means, we're going to help you make that next step to register for the test and get your credential without having to take classes. But if there's an area that you need some remediation in or you need some help in, we're there to help you get that subject under your belt and again go on to take that test. So lots of different ways that we can interact with the community, that we can help you achieve that goal to be successful. Linda,
Yeah,
anything else that you want to add?
Yeah, I truly believe in this program, and I think you all can tell that I am involved and support it, because I've seen our students really improve. And a lot of students had a rough time in school, but the idea is they really want to learn, they want to improve their lives. Don't think that you have to come in even by yourself. We have a lot of people that come as friends, and as long as you're hanging out and somewhere else, come on in, and both of you can get your high set. You know, there's a lot of friends and friendships that you'll make in this program. So try us out, improve your life a little bit, and be happier. And that's exactly what can happen if you get your education. So thanks for joining us.
If you're interested in getting more information, our phone number is in the credits at the end, or you could go to the program website, which is mcla.edu/ABE, and there's some basic information there. There's a link at the bottom of that page that you can schedule for a video chat or phone call with someone from the program to talk about the various services that we've just talked about and some of the other ways that we're able to help students or community members engage in continuing your education, going on to that next step to get you prepared for post-secondary ed training program. We're always happy to help the community members get the answers to questions that you may have. And if we don't have the answers, we will work with you to access the answer to that question or put you in contact with the right source of information. So I'd like to thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to being with you again next week. Thank you.